Hi, and welcome back to this interview series that I'm doing in the month of April. It is actually Stress Awareness Month. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Are we supposed to be aware of all the stress in the world or what? But I take it to mean if you become aware of the stressors in your life, you can actually do something about them. And that is what my work is all about. That's what Sarah's work is all about. And so I'm so happy to introduce Sarah Stockham to you. And Sarah, welcome.
Oh, Elle, it is such a privilege and honor to be here with you. I've been looking forward to this all day long.
So Sarah and I met through a mutual friend who thought that Sarah might like to interview me on her TV show and her podcast, and that is how we got together. And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, Sarah, and we'll go from there.
Sounds wonderful. And so on Simply Sarah, the TV show, Elle, as I'm interviewing you, Elle, you actually teach the pressure-free method. And as we are going through this process and you're having me lengthen my hamstrings and we're working on, releasing any tension in my lower abs, I feel different. And I know at that point that I will be reaching out to you after the show to have a conversation about learning pressure free from you and then coming on and being certified as well. And it's been such a game changer for me. It has touched every area of my life. I grew up in the Democratic Republic of Congo and um, from a young age knew a lot about energy and interacting with it. And one of the things that, as somebody who in the past would have called myself an empath, I now call myself a sensitive. As an empath, I'm sitting at the end of a fire hose, taking in all of the energy. And as a sensitive, I get to choose what I want to be interacting with.
Oh, I
And
love that.
and got the opportunity after being trained with you to, would you please come and fill in as a pianist? And I was a piano performance major in college, and I thought, I haven't played for a while. We've been relocating and doing all these different things, and just really felt like it was the time to do. Literally went and sat with this beautiful baby grand piano, and I lengthened my hamstrings and I relaxed my lower abs. And Al, I played the best that I had played, even from the point when I was practicing 4 and 5 hours a day. This came from my heart, and my fingers knew what to do and where to go, and it was a remarkable experience for me. So I'm just so grateful in so many different ways for our connection.
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's been over a year now, right? I mean,
Yes,
almost 2 years, I think.
yes,
Yeah. And so, yeah, you went through my certification program, which is a 9 month program. Then you came to the retreat. And so we got to meet in person, which was fabulous too. So,
delightful.
it's
Yes.
been a great relationship. And, connection is a really big piece of this series. For those of you who are on live, you get to talk to these guests afterwards. So if you're on Facebook right now and you want to go to www, you have to type the three W's, dot zoom with ELLE.com. You're welcome to come into this room with us. We've had some really beautiful post live interview conversations with people who have joined into the Zoom room. So you're always welcome to come in and join this series. It's just connecting is a really big piece of it. So Sarah, I would love for you to share a bit about, I mean, you shared how you grew up in the Congo, which is an incredible experience to begin with, but I love how you talked about going from considering yourself an empath to calling yourself a sensitive. I have a lot of thoughts about these words. And I'm not sure what direction you want to take us tonight, and you're totally willing to go wherever you wish, and provide us with some nuggets, some insights, some things that you wish to share.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that I have known for a long time is how important language is, that it matters. And as a young child, I was translating from the local languages for people who would come to visit. We were living literally 4 degrees south of the equator in the beautiful um, jungle and my parents were working on clean water projects, bringing it up to the village, and then the village already had a school that they were continuing to build and make larger and continuing the work that other people had done as well. So it wasn't that we were in a place that nobody had been. We had a cinder block house to move into when we got to this particular place. And so translating for other people, translation is different than interpretation, right? You can go verbatim, word by word, and translate, and yet not get the full message of what somebody is sharing. And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate about our conversations is that we talk about the language that we are using, but we also look for the deeper part of what does it really mean? What is it really all about? And I so appreciate that.
Oh, I
And
love that.
another piece that I have come to more recently, and this comes from a film, Phil Whitebloom. He was talking about expectations, and I said, "Oh, I don't know that I really like those words, expectations." Right? I think that it's great to have goals. It's great to see where we think that we're headed, and to write those things down, and to be really purposeful about that. But if I'm expecting something, a certain outcome, and I don't get that, Al, I can then have to go into this place of disciplining my disappointments. And I don't like that place very much. But if I move from a place of expectation to a place of aspiring, then I'm like, oh, the gates are wide open, right? I'm aspiring for these things. These are things that I desire to bring into my life or into the lives of other people. But then it takes some of that pressure off of it. And it also opens up the doors, I think, for the magic to happen. And I have seen this over and over in my life, that beautiful place of the magic of life happening.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so going from when we tend to say the word I expect, or my expectation here is, to I'm aspiring. That is really, it's so funny because the person who introduced us, Leela Veronica, she and I met in a program called Aspire.
Really?
Yep, yep. And I just want to share something really quickly about that. One of our cohort members shared what her goal was, and it was basically, I want to make this amount of money in order to get out of debt and do this. It was all pretty, well, this is what our coach said. That doesn't sound very aspiring to me.
Like that.
So
Yes.
yeah, so what does it mean to aspire?
Mm,
I love that. I love that you've connected it to expectation and
mm.
moved it into that. Beautiful.
I was taking a course during the shutdown. It was one called The Soul Journey. And in that space, we were doing just a lot of digging into what were the blocks that were holding us back. And one of the exercises in that space was to take um, whatever we thought that this block was, and then to go 7 different levels with it, to continue to ask more refining questions. And I literally found myself at 4 o'clock in the morning, sitting out in the garage. At the time, we were living in Southern California. It was warm out there, but I had a blanket with me. But I literally needed to have all of the lights really, really on and not to be disturbing anybody in the house. And I am in my phone looking in wordhippo.com, putting in words, trying to find the word for how I was feeling about things, because it's easy to talk about, glad, sad, bad, mad. Those are, real easy, right? But
Mhm.
to get to a deeper level, what was it that I was really feeling about different things, and trying to find those words? And still today, Word Hippo is one that I pull out frequently when I'm working on trying to find that right word, just because language matters.
So I'm not familiar with that platform, Word Hippo. Is it like a thesaurus?
It is. You can
Okay.
find antonyms and synonyms, and they don't like phrases a whole lot. They prefer to have one word, maybe 2 words
Okay.
in there, because every now and then I'll try to put in a longer, help me with this. And they're like, that's no, we're not doing that.
Okay. Nice.
um,
So word hippo. All right, there's a tip for people. If you're
yes.
looking to find a certain word that's describing something and you haven't hit on it yet, word hippo could be your
Yeah.
solution. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Did you find the word?
I did. And that was super helpful, again, just for me in these places of being a sensitive, feeling all these different things, and wanting to really be able to identify what is it that I'm feeling, not the expectation of what I should do or what I think that other people are expecting me to do as a result of taking this information in. But how do I feel? And then if I know how I feel, how do I want to respond? What's the best way for my own integrity, for my own space of integrity? What's my best space then to be able to move forward And it just, again, it gives a whole different way of coming into the internal conversation. I so deeply believe that the internal conversation is such an important conversation. And so often on Simply Sarah, we have these conversations about what internally were you doing? What's the internal conversation that you were having as you were coming to places that were difficult, things that you found as you were um, building your career, building your entrepreneur business, whatever that is the person's working on. Because if it's out of those internal conversations that we are able to find alignment differently. And then for me, um, there's this space that just opens up. I was talking with a dear friend of mine, a mentor, this afternoon, and I said, I feel like I've been in a stream in the eddy. You know how you have the leaves that go around and around in a corner of the eddy?
Yep, yep.
And I said, I've just released. And she says, I can feel it, Sarah. You're moving again. And I said, yes, that's it. Exactly. But when we come to those places of alignment, it just naturally pushes us out of those places that I would call the eddies in a stream.
Oh, oh my goodness. You are different tonight. Like I've known you almost 2 years now, and there's just something happening. So that's very exciting. It's very
Yes,
exciting.
it's good.
Boy, more nuggets. I mean, you are full of them. So
Mm.
give us some more beautiful Simply Sarah nuggets.
I think that space of understanding that life is changing all of the time. I have moved so many times in my life to the point that when we knew that we were going to be moving again, I had a visceral reaction to that because I thought I'm losing all of my friends all over. I don't know where anything's going to be in the grocery store. And so, sitting with that, I found the word relocate, and that became so much better for me. So, we were relocating then, and we were moving to a place or relocating to a place that I had come to in summers at different points in my life. So, it wasn't that it was completely unknown, but that still that space of knowing that I was leaving 4 decades of friendships behind and that I would be popping in once, twice a year to see them in person, but that there would be definite changes that would be happening with that. And it just brought me again to a place, Elle, of realizing how um, life was changing anyway. Relationships were already shifting and changing anyway. It was just that in this space, I could really see a date on the calendar and know that we were um, putting some things in boxes and taking some things with us and giving other things away. And when we sold our house, they wanted all of the furniture. What a gift to not have to find. Okay, not all the furniture, like 95% of it.
Right,
But
right.
again, that space, right, of being able to, and then, any linens that you want to leave, we'll be happy to have those as well. And anything in the kitchen, in the cupboards that you want to leave, that's fine too. And yes, clean out the refrigerator. But it was, and that was something that I told our real estate agent that I wanted. And she literally laughed in my face and said, "You're not going to get that." And I have a stubborn streak in me, especially when I really want something. And I thought, no, this is how it's going to be. And we ended up getting one offer on the house, and the one offer was the right offer, and they wanted all the stuff in there. And I just rejoiced internally because the furniture fit the house, and we knew we were not going to be. It was too. We just knew that we weren't going to be bringing it with us.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
it is amazing. And that space, though, of again coming into an inner alignment of what is it that you really, really want. And for me, Elle, that so often starts with what don't I want? Because in our society, I think that we talk about in the negative of, we're not happy with this and that person. And, we can talk about what we don't like,
Mhm.
but to say what is exactly that you like can be a harder place. And so decades ago, I learned to take a piece of paper and fold it in half and write all the things that I didn't want or didn't like or didn't whatever. And then the other side isn't necessarily a one-to-one correlation, but
Okay.
this side helps me get to what it is over here. And then after I do that for a while and play with this side, it can take a while to find the words that I'm looking for, and having other people share or finding other people's work where they have written down things that their morning affirmations. You have a beautiful list. When I printed it up, it was several pages long.
Yeah.
Again, having that, right, to be able to
Mhm.
work with and go, oh, for this moment in my life, this really sits well. And to be able to, if the words are perfect, keep them. If they need to be tweaked a little bit, wordhippo.com, go find your word and put it in there. But make it yours. Don't take someone else's work that they have taken their energy and have created and faceted something. Don't take that as it has to be yours. Allow it to move things and open up and unlock pieces inside of you, things perhaps you haven't thought about before, or things that you were taught very early on and you believed and knew and just have gotten away from because of life. And this is where I want you to tell the story, please, Elle,
Okay.
of asking the empowering question and
Okay.
going to that space of playing the violin, and then I'll let you tell the story.
Oh, you want to tell that story? Okay, great.
Please.
So one of the tools that I have in pressure free living is it's kind of a little system of tools, and it's when you're stuck. And Sarah and I are both musicians, so she resonated so much with this story. But it
Yes.
doesn't matter what you do. So in this case, I was working on a piece by Mozart to play with a choir, and I hit a part, and this is what my brain said. Oh crap. Actually, it used a stronger word. Oh crap. You can't play that passage fast enough. You're going to ruin the performance. And immediately I stopped myself. And my little system is this. The first thing I did was smile, rather sarcastically. Okay. And I looked up into my head and I said, my little slogan here is caught you. So I caught my brain immediately expecting the worst outcome, and I stopped it with that one phrase. And then I switched it, not with an affirmation. At first, I did teach affirmations to my clients. And then I realized that the most powerful thing you could do is ask an empowering question, a question that moves you towards solution. So the question I asked in that moment was, how can I always play this passage beautifully? And by the way, do you see how I'm nodding my head in affirmation? Right?
Yes.
The other thing I do is I watch my clients. They'll say, oh, yeah, I'm going to build this amazing business. And their head is shaking no. And I learned that from a mentor of mine. But back to the story. So I stood back from my music, got a couple ideas, wrote them in the score. But it wasn't until 30 minutes later where it was like a lightning bolt went into my body. I was actually driving at the time. And an Eastern European male voice said, you're screwing your bow too tightly. Release it 2 revolutions and you will play the passage just fine. It was a college professor of mine from 35 years before, his exact words to me in a lesson. And because I hadn't triggered the stress response, my hippocampus is working like I had access to exact memories of exact words and instructions. So I couldn't wait to get home. I like opened my violin and got to the passage and I played it absolutely perfectly. My bow was too tight. Side story, I have 2 bows. My good bow was broken for 2 years. Just before this Mozart, I got it fixed. So we grab our bow and we turn the little screw on the end to tighten the hair. And you don't really think about it. It's automatic, right? But this bow being fixed apparently didn't need as many revolutions. So I went chung 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 and released it 2 revolutions and I played the passage absolutely perfectly. And so I have helped people design empowering questions and come up with empowering questions to do some pretty miraculous things,
Yes.
especially things that seem almost impossible. And you play such a role in breaking that feeling like, oh, I don't think I can do this. Like that's a gift that you have by seeing people's energy and looking at that. But I look at people's faces, I notice when it gets tight, I notice when it's open. I notice if they're going this way or this way. Like all of that matters because they may be thinking they're going to do something, but their internal mechanism is saying, I doubt you can do that. I don't think you can do that. So yeah, thanks for letting me tell that story.
I love that story. And you were the one who caught me going, oh, I'd love to do that.
I did. I caught you.
And it has been so interesting to watch other people now as they speak, because just that one motion of the head just shares so much of their internal conversation.
And I have to credit the person who taught me that. So I was just at the national championship hockey tournament where Western Michigan won. The former board chair of the board of trustees of Western is my mentor. He used to give us tickets. That's how we got involved with this team. And he's the one I told him once, I said, yeah, so this is what I'm doing. And he goes, stops me and he goes, you're not doing any of that. And it was because my head was going this way. And he goes, if you really think you're going to do something, your head needs to be going this way. And
Yes.
ever since he taught me that, I've taught it to my clients. It's like, I'll just watch them and see what's actually transpiring. So
Yeah.
it's powerful. My takeaways so far are word choice, how important our words are, and to really think deeply about the words we are using. And what was your wordhippo.com? Is that it? Wordhippo, like, or thesaurus or whatever, whatever is your thing to really find the words you need. I love that so much. And to switch into those words. And that's what the empowering question does. It's
Yes.
flipping all of that script on where you were headed and where you really want to go. I mean, I certainly didn't want to be an embarrassment and play a horrible concert.
Right. Right. And I
And
think
I didn't. Thank
you
goodness.
did incredibly well. It was beautiful. I think that space also, Elle, of because you hadn't triggered and the hippocampus was right there with you working, able to pull those memories up. I think there's the other part of that's so powerful with empowering questions that you teach is that space that our brain is always looking to solve problems. And so if it's not my problem, I'm looking for someone else because I'm going to solve problems today, right? And that can get into those spaces that can be hard on relationships. And so giving my own brain things to work on can be so incredibly healthy for myself, for the boundaries with friendships in the work that I do, with the team members that I have, all of those places. And asking empowering questions, those open ended questions that you just give your brain to work on. And they don't have to be perfectly manicured. These can just be messy in the moment kinds of things of something, right? Just
Yes.
give your brain something to work on. That space can actually free up your brain to be able to problem solve other layers and other things at the same time. It's not just going to work on that one thing, but once you move from in the past, this is how I did things. I was concrete. I had to have the answer right away. And whatever that answer was, if tomorrow it wasn't a good answer, it didn't matter. I was sticking with it because it was the answer that I had.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
Coming to a place of saying, that's how I used to operate. I am choosing to operate differently now. I'm choosing to say that as I get more information, as I see the patterns in my life, the things that have gone really, really well, those places I've been open to the magic in. I've been looking, and sometimes it's looking back, I can see the magic, right? But that space of being able to be flexible. And again, life is always changing. Our relationships are always changing, not just the people who are there, but the quality of the relationship. And we have so much that we can do um, to support that and to increase it. Can I go into a woo woo place here?
Before you go to the woo place, though,
Yes.
I think it's important to go a little deeper on what you said about how if we open ourselves to our empowering questions, we're actually less apt to meddle in other people's business.
Yes.
Is that what you're getting at with what you just
Yes.
said? I love it. I love
Yes.
it.
If I'm asking empowering questions, not only of myself, but also then in places that there could be potentially friction or that in the past I've noticed that there has been friction, if I can open up a conversation by asking or help facilitate a conversation with an empowering question, now people around the table are beginning to think through. And sometimes it's really helpful to preface it by, I'm not asking for an immediate answer with this. I am looking for things to percolate up. And so changing that dynamic of, and being, I'm a recovering teacher. I for 35 years. I am here to tell you that I absolutely know that we put the clock on, we put the timer on, and we say go, and we want all of the answers to be right the first time. And so I'm recovering from that. So in this space of opening up to other, to be able to set the table a little bit. One of my first mentors, Janice Birkenhager, talked about if you tell your client what to expect, they will go with you no matter what in that space. So if you're going, I was doing Reiki, and which is a cousin to meditation, and she was saying if you tell them, I was concerned because there was outside noise that would happen sometimes. On certain days, there would be a lot of gardening going on, and she says if you just tell them that this is gardening day, and they may hear, they will absolutely stay with you through that process. They'll still be able to come to that place of inner quiet. They'll still come to that place of being able to receive what they need to. And so when we set the table like that, even in business, when we're going to start shifting how things are a little bit with asking things like empowering questions or finding the right word and being silly and playing and having fun with it in that process, that can be so very helpful.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Gosh, my mind is just kind of worrying about a few things, but both of us had mentioned that we've had mentors.
Yes.
And I've had mentors, which is a little different than having coaches, but I have coaches, I have mentors, like I have all these people in my life.
Yes.
Um, and you and I were both fortunate. When we were growing up as musicians, did you have private lessons?
Yes. In French.
We had private lessons. So I was having private lessons as a tiny girl,
Uh-huh.
one-on-one with a
Yes.
master teacher.
Yes.
And that experience, not a lot of people have that experience.
Right. Right.
And I think what it does is it really opens you up to wanting it when you're an adult as well, which is
Yeah.
why I was very bold asking my mentor to be my mentor. I mean, it was incredible. And I actually wrote this letter, and at the end I said, my parents have passed away. And if they were here, they would be my biggest cheerleaders, like really pushing me to excel in what I want to do. And I go, so I'm looking to someone who will push me beyond my greatest dreams. Like, and then I hit the send button.
Yes. Yes.
So it's I think, whether you engage with a coach or you engage with I mean, you and I have had a coaching relationship. And by the way, I love to say that with pressure free, it's a finite thing, so we can be friends for the rest of our life.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I'd like some of your reflections on that to close out. We're almost at the end of our time, but
I want to pick up on because it ties in with what I asked if I had permission
oh
to
yes, let's go.
move.
Yes.
You talked about your parents passing, and I've talked about how life is always changing. And but the energy of the people that have passed doesn't change. So when I pull out my grandmother's recipe for cookies and I make that, she is still continuing on. I still can feel her. I can put her apron on maybe, but she's still continuing on, right? After my father passed, I struggled so much because he was somebody in my life who was my number one cheerleader, and he always gave great wisdom. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember getting into the car one day, and I just out of my mouth verbally came, Dad, get in the car with me. We're going for a drive. We've got to have a talk. And I have used that. His energy, his wisdom still continues, right? That the energy of who he was as my father, he's still that energy. It's just in a different form. And so I can ask those questions and I can sit quietly and or we can go driving. And every single time I've gotten something. And so I just share that with our listeners who may be wondering in the woo woo world if we can do those kinds of things. And so I'm here to share with you. I wasn't expecting to do it. I wasn't taught to do that. But Dad, get in the car with me. Let's go for a drive has been something that's been really helpful for me.
So beautiful, Sarah, and a great end of our conversation here. So we're going to close out our Facebook Live, and I'm going to hit the stop record button in just a moment, but let me do this first. Let's see. So thank you so much, everybody, for
Yes.
joining us, for watching this. If you're watching the replay and you're watching the recording, we're so glad you were here. And thank you, Sarah.